know, I've read before that on working on Malcolm X, some of the finances it was difficult to secure them. But
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you want to touch on that or
Oh
maybe
yeah, we
share.
can.
Yeah, yeah, maybe touch on some of those stories.
When we knew, I did the film Warner Brothers, and the producer Marvin Workman had been trying to make that film many, many years. So with the great Denzel Washington, we started making that film knowing at some point we could run out of money. And the day of the riots, excuse me, the day of the uprising in LA with the verdict of those cops walking free, that same day we showed Warner Brothers, Terry Semel and Bob Daly, the two co-heads, the co-chairman, two co-chairmen of Warner Brothers, the film. That was a 4 hour cut. And to their credit, they stayed the whole 4 hours while LA was burning down. Off and on, their secretaries will come and hand them notes. Like they probably had to get a helicopter out of the studios. So eventually it came down to the length. And I was not gonna cut the testicles off this film. Excuse me if I'm being
Yeah, you good?
prudish, but that's we I wasn't gonna do it. And they said, okay. So Warner Brothers gave the film to the Bond company. And shortly after, everybody was in post production, got a registered mail, a letter, registered mail, saying you know your service no longer needed. So they were fired.
Wow.
And I got paid $2 million for that film. And I put half my salary in it and I couldn't do it anymore. So I was stuck.
Wow.
And before doing the film, I became a student of Malcolm X. Read everything he did, speeches. I became a student of Malcolm X. And one thing I kept thinking about what he said for black people: self-determination, self-reliance. And then it hit me like a lightning bolt. I know some black folks. They got some money. And I got their phone numbers. But here was a tricky thing. This situation, they weren't, they could, there's no way to get a piece of the film.
Hmm.
It would have to be a straight up gift. Straight up gift. And I made up a list of these individuals. And I have to apologize. Always, it's been my memories, but I always forget somebody. So please forgive me if I do. But the first person on my list was Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby. This before all the other stuff. Anyway, call him up. Boom. He said, Spike, come to the house. Put the check in the mail. I said, now I'm coming to your house. Got on the subway, went to his house, Upper East Side, rang the bell. He said, come on in. I said, no, thank you. I said, thank you for the check. Ran to the bank. Ran to the bank before. he, then Miss Winfrey, Tracy Chapman, Prince, Janet Jackson. There's an African American woman, Peggy Cooper Capers, who was philanthropist. Excuse that mispronunciation. That's a Brooklynese right there. And so I had to, and every time I got money, I was asking for more because I was feeling myself. Okay, this boom, 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 boom. So Bill Cosby, he got the lowest. I was escalating, and so Jackson, son and father. Here's the science. Peep the science. The last two were Magic and Michael.
Wow. Wow.
So call up Magic. Boom. So Michael, Brooklyn's finest. Mark, you know how competitive it is. So I just let it slip how much Magic gave. Boom. So these individuals saved Malcolm X. And we kept it quiet. I was able to hire everybody that had been fired for post production. And then on Malcolm X's birthday, no, it wasn't Malcolm's birthday, but I think it was, I forgot the date, but a special date. I gave a press conference at the Schomburg Library in Harlem, 135th Street and Lenox, and announced that these African Americans donated, saved the film. And lo and behold, the next day, Warner Brothers took the film back from the people who had the film, and we went, the rest is history, herstory. But it came down to being the student of Malcolm and remembering what we should do as a people. Self self-determination, self-reliance. That was the key. And once I understood that, I said, I know some black folks. So every time I see Mike, every time I give people hope. They're like, Spike, I know that was 20 years ago. I don't care. Because they saved my butt. And the world, I did not want the world to see a truncated version of Malcolm X. Couldn't do that.
Let me ask you one quote that you had that I wrote down that's blessed me, and I'm sure when you made the phone calls, you named the people that said yes, but you had a bunch of folks that said no. You said
No, that's not
you said,
true.
but here's a quote but that you said that blessed me, and maybe in life, don't be deterred by the no's.
I go with that today, but no one on my list said no.
That's a blessing,
Yes. How
and
you call
that's
it?
a
That's
belief in your gift and your ability to execute it.
well, Mark, I there was a great I had many sleepless nights, the Blue and Mark. I was tossing and turning. I was in a jam. Warner Brothers no longer had the film. No longer had the film. They gave it, let the people with the money. Like it was in limbo. And I said before, I got paid 2 million, and I already put 1 million of my dollars already in the budget, which I never got back.
And you didn't want to turn your wife into your mom.
I wasn't. I wasn't. I wasn't married yet, but it's nothing more. And Mark, that was not the only blessing I've got. I've had a blessed life, and so often it could have went that way or this way, but it went straight. And there have been times where Malcolm X being one of them, where I thought that I would never make a film again, and that I hate to say this, but I was cursing God. I'm ashamed to say that, but it was a low point in my life, and it wasn't like we were doing this film secretly. Even when it was announced, black folks coming out of the woodwork saying they didn't say that they weren't saying nothing about Denzel, but they're saying Spike, you better not f that film up. Black folks let me know in no uncertain terms. You just as my mother would say, you better not mess this up with your skinny, rusty black butt. You better not. My mom's, she wasn't alive, but I can hear her telling me, your skinny, rusty butt better not mess this up. So it was a burden on me, and I was losing weight, couldn't eat, couldn't keep couldn't keep food in my stomach. I was a nervous wreck, and I prayed and prayed. And I'm ashamed I'm ashamed to say that I cursed God, but I did. And this is the first time I've ever said that to anybody. But
Sure.
I but that didn't last long. Cause when you get knocked down, you put your hands on the rope and pull your skinny black off.
That's right.
And then the performance that Denzel gave.
Let me ask you this question. Because I watch Steph Curry shoot every day. I watch Klay Thompson shoot every day.
Mm,
And it was at an incredible level witnessing greatness where I just had to sit there and watch. You sat there and watched Denzel, who I believe is the greatest actor of
mm,
all time. You watched
yeah.
him perform on a day-to-day basis. How was that?
It is great, but I want to let you know that I'm in post production of my fifth film with Denzel. In order. Mo Better Blues, Malcolm X, He Got Game, Inside Man. Inside Man was 18 years ago. So Denzel and I had not worked for a minute. But the first day we got together was like Inside Man was like yesterday. But there's a scene in Malcolm X where there's a scene where there's a speech. And back then, this was not digital. This is film, so be 1,000 foot rolls in the film. Once the film rolls, you just know there's a scene where he's giving a speech. I mean, this is a packed, extras, everything. And I'm standing next to my great cameraman, Ernest Dickerson, and he's telling me, Spike, we're about to roll out. And I see that I'm looking at the script, and he seems to be done. But I'm not going to call cut. He keeps going. And finally, the film rolled out. I went over to Denzel, and he was in a daze. I said, D, what was that? He said, Spike, I can't even tell you what I said. But here's the thing though. This is the science. Denzel stopped work a year before he prepared for he told his great agent, Ed LaMotta, I'm not working. He prepared for a year for that role. Stop eating pork, no alcohol, learn how to read the Arabic, pray, do the prayer in Arabic and the Quran. He put the work in. A year. He rehearsed and put the work in for a year before we began to shoot. And here's the thing though. What Denzel was saying when he said, I don't remember what I said, his vessel was open. So the spirit of Malcolm came in him. But that doesn't happen overnight. That took a year. It took a year. And he didn't know where he was. He didn't remember what he said. And the sports thing, that's being in the zone. Right, Mark?
Mm, that's right.
But that doesn't happen overnight. You know that yourself, Mark. The audience in the movie theaters or the people sitting at the arenas, they do not see the work, the blood, sweat, and tears. They only see the product of that. We don't witness. I was there directing the movie, so the audience never saw what Denzel had to do. They just saw the final product. And I've been teaching 30 years at the graduate film school, NYU, the graduate film school, and I tell my students, please not think that the Almighty, his 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 hand's gonna come out of heavens and point you the next one. You got to put the work in. I don't care what you're doing. And the thing that hurts is that this so-called fallacy of an overnight success. Now, the difference between overnight success and flash in the pan don't last. One hit, one hit wonder, had one good year, then an antidote. You know, Mark, you know what I'm talking about. You got to put the work in. There's no There's no shortcut. I don't care what you're doing. There's no shortcuts. Actually, you're shortcutting yourself.
You preaching.
Hey, he's spitting
Yeah, I
right
mean,
now.
I'm not. I mean, it's this. I've said this before. I've said it's my class. So don't drink the Kool-Aid. And then another thing, Mark. I know you agree with me. Where we've both seen. I'm not talking about. I'll stick to my thing, film. When you could go to sports, basketball, but great talents. But something just
Absolutely.
you like. Oh my God, this guy can do, or this woman can do, and then like it's like you're like, and for me it's sad because we all have God-given gifts, and to see people that have gifts, what I'm not sticking just to athletics, but have singing, dance, whatever it is, and you don't dig deep enough in the God-given gifts, and the gifts that God gave you, and that's for me. That's when you don't take advantage of the gifts God gives you. That's like rebuking God. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Don't let me get the Ebenezer.